When I first started drawing, I don't really remember exactly what age I was, but I do have a distinct memory of being maybe 5, 6 years old, where I would draw like my own comic, and I'd come up with my own superheroes and stuff. I had a superhero named Super Striker, which I still like a lot. I would draw the comic books on just regular paper, printer paper that you would have, and then I would give it to my dad. He'd go to work, make a ton of copies of them, and then I would have like a ton of different comic books that I would have, and I would just use a stapler, just take them all, staple 3 staples on the side, and then it would be like a comic book. And yeah, I used to do that all the time. And I also remember just having a lot of sketchbooks in general, just with blank pages that I would just fill all the way up and just kind of draw whatever. I feel like a lot of stuff back in the day when I was a kid was not really anything too detailed, you know, because you're a kid and you're kind of just going for it, you know. I feel like I was really lazy as a kid. I'm still lazy now, but I would just draw whatever I wanted to draw, and it's a good thing, but it's also not a good thing, because you do have to push yourself, and that's something that you do learn with age. I liked drawing because I think a big part of it is that my dad was an artist, and this is my dad's studio. All this stuff is stuff that my dad has either created or drawn or just loves. And when I'm growing up around this stuff and growing up around him drawing, it really made me want to draw as well. And you know, I feel like a lot of kids just draw naturally, but I really enjoyed doing it, because I just honestly feel like it was in my blood. When I was a kid, I didn't really try too much to perfect a vision. I would just doodle. And I feel like that's something that you really need to do a lot of before you start to perfect your drawings and draw something specific. Now I like drawing because I got better at it. The more you get better at something, the more you want to do it. When I start out drawing, it's usually, like when I started drawing, it's usually nothing spectacular. It takes me a few tries to get it right and get in the mode and really start going smoothly in regards to what I'm drawing. But once you get it, once you realize that, hey, I'm really going somewhere good now, like it's starting to come together, all of the elements that I've been working towards are starting to look like something specific, and my vision is coming onto the page, that's what makes you want to keep going, and it makes you look forward to doing it. It's kind of like playing a video game. The next morning you'll wake up and you're like, oh, I was in that dungeon, I need to finish it, and so you'll start playing it. Same thing with the drawing. You'll wake up and you'll be like, oh, I worked on this all last night, I'm really excited to get back to it. And then when you open it or look at what you were drawing yesterday and you'll see how good it is, you'll be like, yes, you know, I am good, you know, and then I can finish it. So some of my biggest inspirations are artists like Akira Toriyama, who drew Dragon Ball, because the art style is so simplistic but also so specific that it immediately, you get an attraction to it, and it's so recognizable when you look at it. Just seeing like Dragon Ball characters on TV when you're a kid, it's polarizing, because you just see these characters, they're so, like I said before, they're so specific, so original, but they're not like anything you've ever seen before. And so it makes you want to draw those characters, because the art style seems simple, even though when you start to draw it, you find out that it's not. But I actually, one of the first things I remember drawing is a picture of Goku, and it's really one of the first drawings I remember being like, this is good. This actually looks like what I'm trying to draw. And ever since then, I've had an affinity towards Akira Toriyama. Japanese manga is something that really influenced me. I remember I started watching the anime Death Note, as I feel like most people do when they're getting into anime. And that led me to the series Bakuman, which is a Japanese manga series about making manga, and that series had a profound effect on me, because up until that point I really was not drawing too much. I drew a ton when I was a kid, but around that time I would only draw occasionally. But once I read that first volume of that book, it has so much soul in it, and it has so much determination that they display throughout the characters, and the characters are so motivated to do what they want to do that it just rubs off on you. You read the first volume and you're just, I need to draw, I need to create, I need to express the things that are in my head. And so that led me down a path of a lot of different manga artists. The way that I find motivation is by simply just doing the task. A lot of people will say, well, I find motivation by listening to this song, or I need to be in the right headspace, I need to light a candle, I need to watch this specific movie, listen to this specific music or whatever. And I don't think that that helps anyone really. I feel like the only thing you really need to do is just do it. Because a lot of the time, you're not motivated because you're not doing it. You're not seeing it unfold in front of you. Once you finally decide, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna draw this thing, and once you start to do it and see that it's starting to come together, that's when your motivation will kick in. You will not have any motivation before you start doing it. So you just need to force yourself to do it at that exact moment. If I'm reading something that has an amazing art style, an amazing storyline, I get more inspired to draw. But like I said earlier, inspiration is not something that you can force. It will just come to you. A lot of times I'll get inspiration and I'll be like, all right, I'm gonna draw, and then it works out. But then that kind of rarely happens. What really happens is I will feel the need that I need to start drawing, and I'll start to do it. And then once I start, then the inspiration will come from within myself, because I'm realizing that I can do this and it is coming to fruition in front of my eyes. The point at which I really thought that I got good at drawing, I don't think I could pinpoint that as an exact moment, because at what point does a bunch of sand become a mound of sand? You know, it's really just one long progression. So there's not really any specific moment where you think, oh, I got good at this moment. I'm getting good. I feel like there's a lot of moments where you say, I can do this now, or I learned this and I can draw that now. But I don't think anyone would really be able to pinpoint the exact moment where they got good at anything, because it's just a gradual progression. If somebody told me that I wasn't good enough and I should give up, I'm not proud of this, but it would probably send me in a spiral of depression and sadness. I don't think anyone would say that to me, because it's just too harsh, but I probably would let it affect me, and it shouldn't. I'm still working on that stuff. You need to realize that other people's opinions of what you're doing really don't matter. And while it is important to show people your stuff and get feedback, if someone's just being just rude for no reason, you need to realize that that person is deeply troubled and they're saying this stuff for some personal reason, some personal insecurity that they have. But I don't think that you should let that stuff get to you, even if it's a minor. If someone has some small critique about something, take it and fix it, because they probably do know what they're talking about. And you know, there's an artist's opinion that matters. So if you would know a fellow artist or someone who's doing something that you're doing, their opinion does matter, but you also need to know that it's not the only thing that matters. Because for me especially, I'm not drawing for other artists. I want to draw for everybody. So it's good to get an opinion of someone who's not an artist and just a normal consumer too, so that they can just give you the take of the regular person. Discouragement will come randomly. It won't even have to do with anything. You know, you'll just be drawing something, you'll be like, this looks good, and then something within you is like, you're a piece of crap. And then you just have to stop, you know. But you just got to realize that that's not you. It's a random thought that came into your head. Disregard it, sit with it for a while, wait for your encouragement to come back, because it will, and just keep going. Don't ride with it, just let it go, because it's just attacking you for no reason, and you just gotta let it, just like, all right, do your thing, and then leave, get back to it. The most difficult thing that an artist will overcome is themselves, because it's yourself that's keeping you from drawing. It's myself who says, you know what? Let's watch a movie instead of drawing. You know what? Let's lay in bed and look at Twitter instead of drawing. You just got to make sure that you're ahead of yourself. You're one step ahead of yourself at every time. So before you even think, oh, I don't want to draw, I'm just going to go do this, you should be drawing. Because once you're drawing, you'll want to draw more. So the hardest thing to overcome will always just be yourself. That's just something that you got to do. Unless there's like, you know, demon elves that are physically keeping you from drawing, it's always just going to be overcoming yourself. Frustration is something that will inevitably come with creation, because for some reason humans believe that, oh, if I have a vision, I should be able to execute it into the real world as perfectly and as flawlessly as possible without any effort. Or at least I think that, and I'm sure a lot of other people think that too, and that's just not true. It's overcoming difficulties time and time again. It's not going to come easy to you. A lot of the problems that I have with drawing is I just assume, you know what, I'm good. I'll just bang this drawing out and it'll be fine. But when I finally get down to it, I have a lot of problems and I'm like, I'm terrible at drawing, I should just give up. But no, you can't do that. You have to realize that that's part of it. Overcoming and making mistakes and erasing, that is part of it. No one in the world was just good all the time. Michelangelo didn't just make the marble statues, just you know, everything was perfect, he just nailed it. He had to work at it tirelessly. What I think art means to me is just the truest expression of oneself, but that also goes hand in hand with overcoming yourself. Just making sure that your vision is coming out into the world in its purest form. That's what art means to me. And even if you're doing something specific, like someone tells you to draw a specific thing that wasn't your specific vision, you have to make sure that that specific thing is drawn exactly how you would have drawn it. What I would tell people who are planning to become artists themselves is just draw all the time. If you're not obsessed with it, then you're probably not going to become an artist. That's something my dad tells me all the time, like, you got to be obsessed with it. And I am. When I start drawing, I am obsessed with it. I need to get it right. I just need to keep drawing and make sure that it's correct. And it's hard to go the other way because there's so much more interesting, pleasurable things out there that can grab you, and it can grab you away from stuff that you truly love. That's why it's so dangerous to get in a funk, and it's hard to get out. But so to avoid that, you just got to make sure that you're drawing all the time. You just got to be on the defensive, and you know, just practice. Most of the cliches that people tell you in life about, you know, just be yourself, you know, just practice. Cliches are right. They're cliches for a reason. Listen to what people who have experience tell you. Just keep practicing and learn from your mistakes and learn from your future, from what you'll eventually become. If you visualize it enough, you will become that thing, no matter what.